Welcome, everyone. I called the meeting of the Linn-Mar School District Board of Directors together here at 5 o'clock. John, would you please determine a quorum?
Director Buchholz? Here. Director Foss?
Here.
Director Mansour?
Here.
Director Maury?
Here.
Director Thomas?
Here.
Director Walker?
Here.
President Lau Lancaster?
Here. Just a note, to keep our meeting flowing tonight, I will read each item number and ask for either a report or a motion when appropriate. We have item number 200, adoption of agenda. May I have a motion, please?
Motion to adopt the agenda as presented.
Second.
We have a motion by Britt, and we have a second by Laura. Thank you very much. Any discussion? If not, may I have all those who are in favor please say yes?
Yes.
Yes.
Any opposed? The motion carries. At this time, I will call forward those who have chosen to speak to the microphone. You will be called up in the order that you have signed in. Please note that board members will receive and acknowledge your comments, but we will not engage in dialogue, and we will not engage in dialogue with each speaker. A reminder, because we do have a set agenda, your comments are limited to 3 minutes each person. We ask now that you share your comments in a respectful manner. We begin with Maria Paulson. Please come to the microphone.
Good evening. I just wanted to come tonight. This is my first board meeting, so first protocol, and show my support for 603, the Indoor Activity Center Expansion and Renovation project. So I'm a parent and resident of the Linn-Mar School District. I have an 8th grade student and a 5th grade student, both who participate pretty actively in sports. As I have kind of come to know Linn-Mar in the academic excellence, the music programs, and seen the support that we show through the state-of-the-art swimming pool and the football stadium and the investment with baseball and softball and tennis, to me this facility will round out that support through all of our athletics, as well as prepare those students with the state-of-the-art weight room. Selfishly, I have a wrestler, and we have, as my 5th grader is practicing until about 9:30, 10 o'clock at night. I would love to see the weight room expanded, or the wrestling room expanded, so that we can get more students in there as that program has continued to grow. So I just wanted to show my support. Thank you.
Next is Erin Watts.
Hi there, my name is Erin Watts. I live on Pinecrest Drive in Robbins, and I'm here tonight to speak in strong support of the proposed Indoor Activity Center expansion. I worked in the Linn-Mar School District for 19 years as a teacher leader, and as the union president. And over those years, I watched this district grow, not always in numbers, but always in purpose. I've seen Linn-Mar consistently prioritize what's best for all students, regardless of their beliefs, their identities, their academic abilities, or their athletic talents. We've seen remarkable progress, renovations and expansions at the high school, many of those. We've seen new elementary and intermediate schools built, a beautiful performing arts center coming online soon, the stadium, the aquatic center, and the Sarah building. These weren't just brick and mortar decisions, they were investments in the lives and future of our kids. And through every change, the guiding question has always remained, what's best for our students, both now and in the years to come? I, of course, haven't agreed with every decision, but I believe it's just as important to raise our voices in support as it is in opposition. The dissent you may have read on social media recently or might hear today, it might be loud, but it's not necessarily representative of the majority. In fact, the community has already voted in favor of the funding that makes this project possible. I'm also a Linn-Mar parent. My daughter Charlotte's a 5th grader at Hazel Point, and my daughter Izzy is a freshman at the high school. Izzy, who's going to speak here in just a moment, is a wrestler, part of a sport that's grown over 102% nationally since 2021. And while she may not get to fully benefit from the proposed girls' wrestling room, I hope you carry her words with you as you consider the opportunities we can afford to Linn-Mar's young women going forward. As a teacher, I saw firsthand how athletics motivated students to succeed, not just academically, but emotionally and socially. Sports gave them belonging, resilience, and purpose. My own daughters are more confident, compassionate people because of their involvement in athletics. Our facilities are stretched to their limits. My 5th grader plays Little Lions basketball, and many nights at practice, she wasn't home until after 9 p.m., which is not great for the next day learning in the classroom, because there simply wasn't enough gym space for them to hold practice. My 2 nephews, recent Linn-Mar graduates who now play college football, benefited from our state-of-the-art modern stadium. Our current and future students deserve the same level of investment indoors in their sports activities as well. My husband and his siblings also graduated from Linn-Mar. This community runs deep in our family. Please vote tonight to continue the tradition of providing excellence, not just for today's students, but for generations to come. Thank you.
Well, we're calling up Izzy Watts.
My name is Izzy Watts. I live on Pinecrest Drive in Robbins, and I'm a freshman at the high school. When my mom told me that there would be people here tonight who are against the new athletic facilities, I wanted to come speak to you myself. I started wrestling in 7th grade. It is never something I would have considered until Mr. Gears invited middle school girls to a high school practice to try it out. I met wrestlers and coaches that are helpful, supportive, and persistent. In the past 3 years, I've become stronger and more confident. Wrestling helped me move to the high school easily. I have a family of girls and coaches there to support me all the time. The wrestling room and weight room are extremely crowded. Girls wrestling is the fastest growing sport in the state, and we only have one room for our team, the high school boys, the middle school girls and boys, and the K-8 club. There just isn't enough space for us all. We make do rolling out the mats in the gym, but this takes away practice time. During the season, we can only weight train 1 day a week because of all the sports using the room. These new athletic facilities will give us a dedicated space to practice and train. Wrestling is more than just grappling and matches. It's about team and family. The skills I learned in wrestling help me in school, work, and at home. Girls deserve this new wrestling room. We've proven we're here to stay, and we've earned it. Please vote to approve the new facilities, and I promise Linn-Mar Girls Wrestling will make you proud.
Thank you. I have David, and I apologize, DeChant. Thank you, David. Thank you for being patient.
Yeah, I'm here in support of item 603 on your agenda as well. I'm a 30-year resident of the district. I have 20 family members that currently live in the district. I have 4 children or children-in-laws that are Linn-Mar graduates. All were engaged in athletics when they were in school. 4 current employees of the district in my family. But most importantly, I have 11 grandchildren that are all in the district, 5 of whom either have or are currently engaged in various athletic endeavors with the district. I have 6 more that hope to be in the near future. So my reason to support is based on their experience. I mean, dating back to my kids and currently with my grandkids, the limitations on indoor facilities has been readily apparent in terms of competition for the weight room, competition for other indoor facilities. And so in support, my 20 family members strongly encourage you to support the indoor and related facilities tonight. Thank you.
Thank you very much. I have Nicole.
Hi, I'm Nicole Kennan, and I'm just here to show my support tonight as well, similar to what was been said in addition to supporting my children, Linn-Mar students, and future Linn-Mar students.
Thank you, Nicole. We have Sarah Scott.
Hi, I'm Sarah Scott. I am a resident parent, taxpayer, and teacher here at Linn-Mar. I just wanted to say tonight, just come here to express my support for the indoor athletic facility. As you all know, we have a huge student population, tons of kids at the high school, lots of athletes who are kind of jockeying for that space. As others have mentioned here, late night practices are tough for kids, as are those 5 a.m. practices that many parents are having to drive kids to as they are sharing that space. I'm going to try not to repeat things that other people have said. I recently started on our little family journey with track and went to an indoor track meet in Mason City where they had a really nice indoor facility. And it was really incredible to see how their community was using that space and how they were able to host that meet and accommodate so many other people. In addition to just serving our athletes, I think this would be a great addition for all of our students. I think the more space we have for wellness, the more kids we have that would be able to participate in intramurals and just use that space for exercise in general. So again, just wanted to express my support for that project. Thanks.
Thank you, Sarah. We have Sue Atwater.
I'm Sue Atwater. I've been in the district for 60 years. I thought 30 was going to be a lot, but 60. I've been a student here, a parent here, and a teacher here. There's been plenty of times that I've agreed and disagreed with what we've done. Example is the pool. I thought, what do we need a pool for? And we see what's happened. So there's times that people can agree and disagree, but usually it turns out pretty good. When we made the addition and decided to do more classrooms and the weight room got way smaller, both my boys were football players, wrestlers, baseball players, basketball players. It's dangerous in there. We need a bigger weight room for the safety of our kids. The last thing I would say is anybody that doesn't believe that athletics builds good kids, both my kids were able to go play college football and that it made them more employable. People connected with them because they were athletes. So kids will get they got a lot from the academics, but the sports is important, just like the vocal music. So I strongly support this. I can't wait to see it all done and pretty. Hopefully my grandchildren will get to go there. Thank you.
Thank you very much. That closes our audience communication. At this time, we will move on to item number 400, Mission Moments. This is an opportunity for us to share highlights throughout the district. Would anyone like to speak to a mission moment? I think we're pretty impressed with Izzy, to be quite honest. So thank you very much for having the courage, because it can be a bit overwhelming to sit at a mic with all of us looking at you. So thank you very much for your courage, and thank you for your character tonight. All right, we will go on to item number 500, our informational reports. I have 501, our policy committee report.
All right, so we met recently and talked about, first of all, everybody was present for that. We did review meeting minutes from our March 26th meeting, and then did a first reading of, with the exception of policy 805.2, reviewed sections of the 800 series and 900 series, and then did a review of the long-range assessment needs, the student and staff regulations and artificial intelligence, the public purpose and use of public funds policy, care, maintenance, and disposition of district records, and then the full 900 series facilities and sites. So there's lots of work that the policy committee is working on. A couple of those are about ready to move forward, so.
Yeah, I just wanted to clarify that we didn't do the first reading, but we are bringing to a first reading.
Thank you, bringing.
I know you didn't mean that, but I just wanted
I appreciate that,
clarification.
thank you.
Yep.
Thank you very much. Anyone have any questions? If not, let's move on. 502, Marion City Council report.
Nothing of particular note that jumped out at me.
Thank you very much for attending. Item number 503, the Finance Audit Committee report.
Okay, we had a very good meeting. A couple items we touched on. The first one was we received the ASBO, which stands for what?
Association of School Business Officials.
Are you going to touch on that in your report?
Nope, go for it.
We received the International Certificate of Excellence. That's the 21st year in a row of receiving this on financial reporting. So that's just a positive thing for all of us. So we do kind of think we know what we're doing. John does anyway, right? So we appreciate that. We're going to talk about the certified budget in a little bit. I think something we talked about in great detail was the performance venue bond sale. So that's the final bonds for not the activity center, but the performance center that is being completed. So we're working through that, and that'll be coming up very soon as well. The activity center, of course, we talked about, and a big piece of it that ties into that is our 10-year facility plan. And what that plan really is it's 10 years of what do we need money for over the next 10 years to upgrade facilities, to do maintenance on facilities, et cetera. So we're waiting to put that together with our facilities advisory committee. So those two committees will work together to figure out that 10-year plan on what we can do moving forward. We had to come up with a new point of sale system for our nutrition department. The system that we were using, actually the company shut down, so we had to put a new one together. And then in the agenda moving forward, a real big discussion is the special education, and we'll talk about that in a little bit with the licensure and hiring incentives. So that's our report.
Thank you very much. Does anyone else from the committee have anything further? All right. At this time, we will move on to item number 504, our legislative report.
Well, the legislature's not done. As we know, the legislature can do what it chooses to do until the very last second. We've made through a couple final deadlines here. The big one that we can report with confidence is that the governor's now signed the SSA set at 2%, which is the lowest threshold that many school districts had said would fund them for this year, but puts next year in jeopardy. We heard from districts in November that if SSA was as low, if SSA, state supplemental aid, was as low as 2%, that many districts across the state would be going into a budget guarantee, which means that they are in budgeting trouble. We've not talked about that. We're not there. So that's the big one to report back. The other piece that the governor signed recently is the students' cell phone bill that restricts cell phone use. Our student policy matches most of what the legislature already is asking for now, so I'm sure that there'll be some tweaks that the policy committee will come through to use and cross-check that, but we're also already sitting in a pretty good position. Those are the main pieces for the legislature report.
Does anyone have any further questions for the legislative report?
I don't have a question. I just want to clarify. The budget guarantee means that 159 districts at 2% get less money than they got last year. I just like to throw out numbers sometimes.
With inflation, yeah.
Thank you very much. All right, at this time, we will have item number 505, our superintendent's report.
Thank you, President Lau Lancaster. Just a few district honors and highlights to kick off my report. Our jazz band had a nice honor, so congrats to our Linn-Mar High School Colton Center Jazz Ensemble for earning first place in the Class 4A Iowa Jazz Championships. This ensemble is the first in the history of the Linn-Mar Jazz Band to receive first place. School librarian highlight. April 4th was National School Librarian Day, and in that honor, we celebrate all of our school librarians and thank them for what they do to help students learn and develop a love of reading. Linn-Mar Buddies. Kudos to our Linn-Mar High School students that participate in the Linn-Mar Buddies program. Thank you for sharing your time with other students around the district. Another student highlight, congratulations to Gavin Hatcher, Linn-Mar High School student, for being selected as this month's Linn-Mar Highlight. Gavin serves as an officer of the Accountability, Leadership, and Opportunity, otherwise known as ALLO Club, and has a passion for visual arts. Several of Gavin's art pieces have won awards, including his piece entitled Transitions, which earned a merit award at the First Crandic High School biannual art exhibit at Coe College. Project Lead the Way highlight. We want to give a shout out to all of the students that participate in Project Lead the Way courses at the high school. Students who complete 3 or more projects in the engineering, computer science, or biomedical sciences are eligible to receive an honor cord to wear at graduation in recognition of their dedication to STEM learning. This year's Project Lead the Way cording ceremony will be held on May 14th at 6 p.m. in the Linn-Mar High School Lecture Hall. And then we all extend a special thank you to the students, community members, and staff members that have attended the recent Lion Learning on the Road sessions that focused on the indoor activities center and renovation project that we'll be discussing here later in the meeting. And speaking of which, we did hold 3 formal sessions, March 11th, 25th, and April 8th. We had our best attendance at the last session with roughly 50 folks there. Over the last few weeks, we've really been trying to promote these opportunities via social media, our staff and parent newsletters, emailing our stakeholders group and asking them to get the word out. We worked with our city manager, Ryan Waller, to have information in his Focus weekly email, and KCRG also picked up and reported on our project. Some recent meeting participation is lots of board work around policy committee that we've talked about, board leadership, finance and audit. I've attended several statewide superintendents meetings, whether that's through the Iowa Department of Ed or Grantwood AEA. Along with Melissa and Nathan, we helped to facilitate a lead learning day with our district and building administrators, instructional coaches, counselors, and PBIS internal coaches. A few updates then with our performance venue that I have heard mentioned a couple of times this evening from our audience members. We have new pictures. They've been updated to the website. We try to continue to show progress. You can see sometimes as you're driving by 10th Street, you can take a peek in, but I know people are excited about seeing what's going on inside. So there's new pictures on the website. The East Corridor steel installation has started last week and should be complete by the end of this week. The auditorium stairwell walls are framed in, and elevator installation will continue for the next several weeks. Also, sprinkler piping installation is ongoing. We'd like to invite everybody to our ribbon cutting and open house ceremony for this building that has been scheduled for April 23rd from 4:30 to 6 o'clock p.m. If you come right at 4:30, you'll hear a few remarks and see the ribbon cutting. And then after that, we're going to be offering self-guided tours around the building with hoping that people end up in this room for some refreshments and a video that will also be playing. And just a few upcoming events for administrator, staff, or students. We have the Linn-Mar School Foundation's Dine Out for Our Schools Day this coming Thursday. On Friday, there's no school. And then we'll be back to conferences for our high school students and parents and staff on April 24th. Are there any questions?
Thank you for your report and all your work and the work of your cabinet. I'd like to now conclude our reports and move into item 600, our unfinished business. We have now item number 601, an approval to set a public hearing for our fiscal year budget for 26 budget. May I have a motion, please?
I make a motion to set a public hearing for 5 p.m. on Monday, April 28th in the boardroom of the Educational Leadership Center regarding the fiscal year 2026 certified budget.
Do I have a second?
Second.
Midot, second. We have a motion by Barry, a second by Midot. Is there any discussion? Hearing no discussion, I ask now for a vote. All in favor, please say yes.
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 Are there any opposed? The motion carries. We now have item number 602, the second reading of policy 50413. Do I have a motion, please?
I'll make a motion to approve the second reading of the recommendation to rescind policy 504.13, transgender and students nonconforming to gender stereotypes, as presented in Exhibit 602.1.
Do I have a second, please?
Second.
We have a motion by Justin and a second by Barry. Is there discussion?
I'd like to just have a little bit of discussion on this item. I know that there's a tremendous amount of confusion that has been shared in the media, that's been communicated to me. I've had an incredible amount of questions and concerns that have been shared to me from the community on this. And I know that while I, as a policy committee member, know that this policy does not remove any protections for transgender students, I know that there are people that don't necessarily feel that same level of confidence or don't necessarily understand that. And so I would like for us to consider, if this moves forward, that we share a statement of clarification to go along with the rescinding of this policy, to clarify that the rescinding of this policy does not remove any protections for our transgender students, and that all protections for those students that are in place currently will continue to be in place once the policy is rescinded, because there is a tremendous amount of concern over the safety of our students if this policy is rescinded. And I just want to provide some comfort and clarity that this is in no way removing any protections that we have had in place for those students, and demonstrate our support and our ongoing commitment as a district to provide all protections allowable by law for all students in our district, including our transgender students.
Thank you for your comments. Is there any other additional discussion?
I, as another member of the policy committee, just want to deeply underscore what Melissa shared. And also something that's really hurt my heart was that the first reading to rescind this happened on the International Transgender Day of Visibility. And it wasn't planned that way. And I thought it was right to acknowledge that really awful timing. And I personally am going to say, I see you. You're welcome here. You are cared for. We appreciate you, like we do every student and staff member.
Thank you for your comments.
I think I'd like to know before we move forward with a vote whether or not there's support from the board in issuing some kind of clarification statement from the board. That will help me in determining what direction I vote.
Thank you, Melissa. I think hearing the comments, I think we will take that in consideration. I'm not able to just do that off the top of my head, but I think that that is important, especially to know that these policies exist. I too am on the policy committee, and the timing was not our fortitude in that discussion as far as what was happening worldwide. So reminding ourselves that we are committed to making sure all students feel safe, that all students will be respected here, and that we will hold one another accountable is indeed important. I would say at this time, the consideration is there for your request.
I would support a statement that clarifies the rescindance of the policy due to the changes in law and the just greater awareness of policy 103.1, which is our anti-bullying harassment policy. I would be in support of that clarification.
Hey, Chair.
But keep it simple, straightforward.
Yes, Justin.
We do have a motion on the table, just as a point of order.
Thank you very much. We're back to the discussion of actually whether or not to rescind. Melissa's concern was that she wanted to know that we would take under consideration a reminder of existing policies. We've been reminded that we have a motion and a second. Is there any further discussion? If not, I will now ask for a vote, please. All those in favor of rescinding this policy, please say yes.
Yes.
Yes. All those opposed?
Yes. No.
Thank you. Do we need a roll call vote for that? All right. Thank you very much for your attention and discussion on this matter. Item number 603, our Indoor Activities Center Expansion and Renovation Project.
I'd like to just make a couple comments to get started, and then I know Britt has some comments too, as this is a very large and monumental thing for our district. I do want to clarify one statement, because I was on the board back when we built the sports complex over here. It's not a football field. We just have to remember that. It's a multi-sport activity center that's used for many, many items, as you can see going on right now. So just to clarify that, because we got in a lot of heated discussions at that time, just building a football stadium for that kind of money. And as we can see, it's getting used every day. The second item is as the Finance Committee has worked through this, along with many, many discussions behind the scenes with all the stakeholders, just like all of you, a lot of you here in the room. So as a Finance Committee, we're bringing it back to the board now for the overall vote. And that's really what the discussion's all about tonight. And I think Britt has some comments.
I just want to recap, there's a couple things in the motion, whether we move forward or not. But if when the motion happens, if the word approve is selected, then we also want to talk about securing financing. And so I want to refresh everyone's memory on what the options are. But to give a little history, I was on the original facilities committee. This conversation started back in 2021. But it was agreed that this would be the last of the 5 projects that were suggested for the high school campus, which is why it's now 2025 and we're talking about this. And a lot of things have changed. I want to thank Izzy for speaking tonight, because when we were talking about this space in 2021, girls wrestling was not a sanctioned sport in the state of Iowa. And now not only is it sanctioned, but we have a growing and successful team, as illustrated in tonight's comments. So that's just one of the many things. Whenever something like this, I always try and do my due diligence, but with this particular project, a year ago when it came time to start talking about the box that was labeled activity center, indoor activity center, we've never really talked and defined what was inside the box. So we took a minute and we got stakeholder feedback and we pulled together that facilities group again. And I am a parent in the district, but not yet of a high school student. So I had never been in our locker rooms or seen the training room. That has now changed. I've been in there several times, and to know that the locker rooms have not been renovated since the 80s, that's my almost entire lifespan. So it's a need that I can see. So there is a history of the need for this. This isn't something that we've come up with overnight. And it does follow our track record with the Aquatic Center and with the outdoor stadium that hosts many things, soccer and track and football and all of those, marching band, all of those things. But what I have appreciated about the feedback in this process and all of the stakeholders that came to the Lion Learnings and were part of the group, and everyone who has shown up online here in our emails, that has helped create what this plan is, and to really address the locker rooms and the weight room and wrestling and the sheer lack of court space in this district. We have so many. I would hate to think that my 5th grader would be out, well, he's now in 6th grade, but practicing till 9 o'clock at night these are all things that we should be addressing. Before I open up to everybody else, I want to remind financing options. We did have a board work session on this a while back, and we talked about with Matt Gillespie from Piper Sandler, who's our finance expert guy, about the different ways that we could pay for this. And there is no bond needed. We don't have to go to a vote and ask the community for more money. We have the facilities funds to do this. But the 2 different options, we could use SAVE funds all on their own, or we could do a combination of SAVE and PEPL. SAVE and PEPL combination, and John, jump in here at any point because I don't have my notes, but if I remember correctly, the overall message is that the PEPL and SAVE would give us a lower interest, and we would be able to pay it back sooner, correct?
Correct. So our PEPL note can only be a maximum of however long we have it voter approved for. So that would be a 10-year note. Typically, property-backed borrowing, you get a better rate. It's seen as safer than sales tax-backed borrowing. So that's part of it, is the rate, and the term as well plays into roughly that $10 million savings over the course of both financing options.
So I know in our discussions, my preference would be, or my recommendation as part of the committee would be to do the combination of Save and Pepple if we decide to do this project. And then I just want to end my comments with just another thank you to everyone who has reached out. And I've had more conversations about this project than I had about the performance venue, and that's saying something. I thought that my top list of people would be the performance center, and this one has completely blown that out of the water. So I've heard a lot of stories and had a lot of great conversations around the need and the future growth and how we're a forward-thinking district and we build not just for today but for what's to come. And so I'm in favor, but I want to hear and answer any questions from those who aren't on the Finance Audit Committee.
Let's continue with our last member of that committee, Justin.
Thanks. So being a project manager in the construction industry, stuff like this is what I do day in and day out. And so I've sat down and thought more about this, and then Jonathan and I had a good discussion just so we could take the feedback that we've heard from the public, both in email, online, what I've heard face to face, and kind of sift through that and provide clarity where we can. And so here I just wanted to bring up just a couple topics to help understand where we're at. First off, today, the next motion that we'll make is not the final decision, and it's not committing us to anything. It is allowing the process to continue to move forward where we will now engage in that more engineering. We will secure the funds, but not necessarily take the funds. And we will allow to then start the true engineering plan to develop the much stronger scope of work and the full exactly what everything costs, and the timeline that it will happen, and then the whole plan. And at that point, then, once we have the full engineered plan, we'll have another, before that as well, but we'll have a final bite at the apple to commit us to doing the project. So this is to allow us to keep going. What we asked from the public is do you think that this is a good idea that we learn more about? And so that is what we'll be voting on here in a minute. We've also heard questions about why is it so expensive? We hear that a lot. In the construction industry, that's the number one question we get all the time as well. And we heard from the public that there have been some projects that have been compared to here, and people wondering why is this a certain cost versus what you're proposing now. One of the first things that we talk about in the construction industry is that you can't compare costs of a project that was built 5 years ago to a project that you're going to build today or tomorrow, or even in this case, a year or two from now. Inflationary pressures, not only on materials and goods, but also on labor, are, as we've all noticed, exorbitant, super high, and so costs for simple things that we would have purchased 5, 6, 7 years ago are now much more expensive than what we expect them to be in 1 to 2 years. So it's important to understand that it's not apples to apples. Second, we asked about what are some of the cost drivers for this particular project. And so we have published out there what the individual large elements are for example, the field house, for the weight room, for those pieces. But some of the questions have been, well, why is the field house so incredibly expensive? And after talking to Jonathan, one of the big pieces for this one is simply the structure of the roof. The YMCA down the street spans a few volleyball courts or basketball courts, and that's it. And so it is the roof structure is able to be supported in the middle of that building, and so the roof span and structure and steel needed is a lot, is maybe average. For this, because we're not going to have any roof supports in the middle of it, and so it's going to span the basketball courts and the track and the spectator seating area, the structure itself is significantly more substantial than other projects in the area, And so that is a large cost driver for this, is simply, it's not just a 1-to-1, it is a 1-to-2, 1-to-3, because the materials are so expensive. And because the materials are so much. Another one that we talked about is just simply renovation. Anybody who has renovated a bathroom in their home knows that renovating it, or a kitchen, renovating it sometimes costs 2, 3, 4, 5 times more than building it the first time. And we're seeing that here as well. As we renovate for the plumbing, for the electrical, we have to move dirt, we have to move concrete, all things that are good and needed in order for us to be able to use the facility, but renovation costs are always higher than building something from scratch. And so it is, again, impossible to compare one building that is built on native land, flat earth, versus one where it has to be completely renovated and all the inner workings need to be worked out, especially HVAC. The other piece that we wanted to kind of just talk through is just expectations. I started on this at the beginning. This is a vote to move forward, to study more. From here, we will get a more detailed plan set from the architecture and from the engineers, as we then eventually let out bids to get RFPs. We'll put out an RFP to get bids back, to understand what they want this to look like. Then that's a great point where we can then finally ask the questions, show the public, and get that fine-tuned feedback to make sure that we're not missing anything, that things that where we've gotten specific feedback on something, we can address at that time to make sure it's either included or excluded. We can look for value engineering where it might be, there are too many windows here. Could you take out some windows and will that lower the cost for us? We can make those value decisions at that point. That is several months, if not a year down the road. So we've got time to work through this, but this is a process for us to be able to continue to move forward. And as we think about the public, for to be able to answer some of those critical questions that they're asking, which are very good questions, we'll have more answers for them later on.
I want to touch on one more question that, Justin, you got me thinking about, that I've heard a lot, is what about our historic buildings and what about our other needs? We fixed our space issues at the elementary and middle school level when we built Hazel Point and Boulder Peak. So we're good K-8 in terms of educational space. We're good in the high school. We've just expanded this building, moved all of the administrators here so that we could expand classroom space at the old LRC. I can't remember what the new acronym is at the moment. Academic Excellence, AES. I'll remember it, AC. Anyway, that building over there is now all expanded classrooms for our high school programs. So we do not have to build a new elementary school anytime soon. We don't have to build another intermediate or middle school anytime soon. So those big projects, I want to alleviate those concerns. And then Wilkins was just renovated with new flooring, all new media center. We're working with, Bowman Woods just got a completely new roof. This is not in lieu of taking care of our current facilities. We can do all of those things. That was one of our financial conversations during that work session, if you guys remember, where Matt Gillespie walked us through, yes, you do have facilities funds for this project and the other things that need to be continued in the district. So I wanted to, that's one of the main questions that I've gotten, so I wanted to touch on that again.
Thank you. I believe that's all of the committee members that are offering their insights as we continue this dialogue. I just want to make sure everybody has a chance to speak to this so that before we have our motion on the table, so that we don't play the game of amending a motion. So let's go ahead and continue. Laura?
Thank you. So at that board work session that Britt mentioned, I will fully admit, and I do this at the risk of offending all the people who came and spoke in support, I was very hesitant. I had a lot of concerns, mostly because when Britt said, we still have enough money for all the other things. And my thought was like, okay, but do we really know what all the other things are? Sure, we're going to fix the flooring and paint and do this, but there's got to be more out there. And are we sure that we have a communication stream to make us aware of those things? And at that presentation, where we were looking at the funding, it was a very broad in terms of time presentation. And so they looked at enrollment going back to 2000, in addition to projecting out what our PEPL and SAVE and everything would look out to 2060. And the enrollment chart really laid out how fast Linn-Mar grew from 2000 to 2010, 2012, like it by 1,000 students. And lots of people, I won't say lots, some people like to remind us, and we fully see it, the enrollment the last few years isn't having that same growth up. But learning that the locker rooms are the same locker rooms that have been there since before 1,000 students joined, and even if you take off the ones that might have recently gone down, this is still so overdue. And when I went to the Lion Learning and I was in there, and I was like, okay, we think Linn-Mar is huge and have all these awesome things. And then I saw the weight room, and I think I was in my high school for the reunion, and there's 86 in my high school class. I'm from a small school. My weight room in my school back in West Union was bigger. And what Britt said about the locker rooms, and I'll digress, but with all the wonderful support we've heard, with seeing the facilities, with the Lion Learning events, I'm on board. I see the need, I hear the need, and I see how truly all students will get to utilize these facilities. And I guess my final comments about the project and the budget and things like that, it is still very, very important to me that that 10-year facilities plan is encompassing of more than just the basics, and how we can make those communication flows from, maybe it's the lead custodian in each building, the custodial staff. They see the inside and outside of those buildings all the time. They might know things. Maybe it's the office worker, because they might hear things as people are coming in and venting. So are we really truly capturing all those built infrastructure needs? The second, we're looking out in that 10-year facility plan, and I hope here soon we can say that 10-year facility plan will include solid surface playgrounds. I hope. That's not a promise. It's an I hope. I want to clarify that. I hope. Okay? One more thing. Sorry. And then, looking at my notes. Okay. I know concessions has been brought up as, let's make sure we're doing concessions right in this project. And so that's something I hope. Barry. I hope we can give attention to the concessions facilities to make sure that those are adequate because of the sheer number of people, more people that are going to become. And that goes to my next comment, which I've brought up since the beginning. Parking. Now, in this project, everyone's told me we're not losing any parking spots. Cool. But if we are creating a facility that is a destination and holding events, and why we need more concession space, I want to make sure, if parking's going to go to Indian Creek, does Indian Creek need attention in their parking facilities, right? So, and last, that the timing of construction is thoughtful with the activities, the sports schedules, and the adjacent classroom space. Thank you.
Thank you. I would never cut you off, Laura. Anyone else have something to share about this in our discussion?
So I was with Laura when I heard the price tag on this thing. Like, oh my God, it's millions and millions and millions of dollars. As a taxpayer, as a community member, and as a person who doesn't have a student in the district anymore, it jumped out to me a little bit. I'll be honest, like the price tag was a shock, right? But then I started thinking about what Linn-Mar has offered my child, and then going in and looking at, during the Lion Learning, looking at the facilities with a new eye. You know, last year when my daughter was here, I've been to the Ox Gym. But I didn't realize how close those stairs were to students playing basketball. You know, we keep saying that our facilities are safe. They are safe. Our roofs are not going to fall. But they're not ideally a safe space for kids to play the sports they're playing currently or using those spaces for. So we have to start thinking forward, not only the next 5 years, but let's think about what this space can offer in the next 30 years. And that's what we are planning for. There was another thing that Matt Gillespie, I think that was the gentleman we spoke to, we asked him what would be like the student decline number needs to be for us to not be able to fund this. And that number is huge, guys. You don't even want to know. So we should be okay without asking or raising any taxes on community members. And that is important for me to note here because we keep hearing this in the community, our taxes are going to go up. This will not affect anybody currently in the current circumstances, and it should not affect anybody going forward because PEPL has been passed for 10 years and save dollars come to us. John, do you want to add to it?
I want to make, Melissa wants to speak, but I just want to make a quick clarification from MidHat. Matt Gillespie is the gentleman that does all of our finances. He's done it for a number of years, and when I say finances, John is our CFO. He does our local, but Matt is on the state level, and he's able to put all of our numbers together. He's got the wherewithal. He's got the dollars. He's got the percentages, and so just to clarify that piece of it. And then there was something else I want to clarify, but I can't. Sorry. Go ahead, Melissa.
I too was in the boat of, oh my gosh, you've got to be kidding me. We're adding like $30 million to this project boat. But the more feedback I have received and the more opportunities I've had to kind of learn different aspects of it, the more my support for this project has grown. I think a couple of the things that have really helped me to come to the point of full support. One is just understanding how much sense it makes to do it now versus do it later. How quickly construction costs are increasing. The fact that the understanding of how much sense it makes to go all in on the design that, you know, yes, we can do just the basketball courts, but the basketball courts plus one lane doesn't add much of a cost. And if we're going to do one lane, then let's do 3 lanes. And, you know, some of those things that it makes our facilities more attractive for others to come use it, makes it more user-friendly for the rest of our community to use it, so that it's not just a facility that our students can use, but that it becomes a community facility. It makes it more family-friendly, which is a value of ours, to be able to be inclusive to everyone, to make it handicap accessible, all of those elements, to make it a destination that we can entice others to come and rent out the facilities, which then becomes a revenue source for the district. There were just so many of those pieces that I was like, oh yeah, that makes sense. Oh yeah, that makes sense. Okay, that makes sense. And the more and more of those pieces that came together, the more I could no longer justify that, like, well, yeah, but it's expensive. Yeah, but it's expensive, when it wasn't going to change taxes. It wasn't going to increase property taxes. We had the money to be able to project that out with what Midhut was saying around, even with declined enrollment, we still would have the financial security to be able to ensure that this would be available. And then the last thing that really was the clincher for me was, we have been a district that over the past few years, we've had some financial struggles, but we are in a position with school funding where we have to operate within these buckets. And this is a bucket that is very restricted in how we can use that money. And if we don't have money in one bucket to be able to make life really grand for our staff, then let's give them a really grand facility, because we do have the funds to be able to do that. And if we can't provide some really amazing things for our students, then let's make sure they have a really amazing space for their sports and their PE and the things that will help them to feel wonderful, because we don't have that in all of our buckets, but we do have it here. So let's make a wonderful place for them to come and to just be themselves.
Thank you very much. I'm going to, anybody else have any discussion? Then we're just going to hold for one thing. I'd like to reiterate what Sue said. On the tour, I got to see the locker room that was fairly new when I went through, and the only addition was new flooring. That is half a century ago, just kidding, but it's been a while. And I want to thank whoever had that vision, whoever had that dream to build that building that we now consider out of date. That building, though, brought us to where we are today. And now we're having a conversation for future generations. And those who say, well, my child will not benefit, I do not have individuals in this district, but you are part of this community, and it will be something that people will talk about in the most positive way that we have brought this forward. I want to remind us that some of our design will also benefit the community in that it will provide a storm shelter. That is part of the design, and I think we overlook that is part of our cost increase as well. The same item was added within our performance center. That is something that we have not faced in many of our other builds. We have been able to provide storm shelters maybe later, but in the original drawings that was not there. Also, I want to thank the Booster Club for reminding us about the importance of concessions. Booster Clubs know better than anybody what happens and what we all eat and what it will take to feed a group, and that also goes along with having enough parking, so people will feel good about what they come when they come to our buildings. I want to finalize this with my own thoughts. I, too, looked around and I was very mindful. What I would like us all to know is this is for all students. It is for the entire Linn-Mar community. Your school board takes that charge and that goal very seriously. And so we want to move this idea forward, as Justin is talking about. We move the idea forward to get more specifics so we can continue to be transparent to the district. Renee has done a wonderful job presenting many things on our website. So we direct you there as well to see all the opportunities for you to see some of the things that we've learned at these Lion Learning Centers. And we want to thank the feedback that we've got there. But I just want to respect all those who have poured, not just today, last week, but years worth of planning into this and dreaming. This is going to benefit the entire district, all students. And so I just want to let us know that it's a big decision, and we know that. But I thank you for the Finance Audit Committee that has really done a lot of work on this. And so is there any further conversation at this point? All right, I'm going to take a pause. At this time, I would like to know, is there a motion to go along with the Indoor Activity Center expansion and renovation project?
I would like to, I'm sorry. I would like to make a motion to approve the Indoor Activity Center expansion and renovation projects as discussed, to move forward with the design phase and secure financing for the construction through a combination of, I want to clarify, save funds. Those are sales tax dollars, 1 cent sales tax, along with the PEPL notes that we voted on, and to work with the district's municipal advisors and bond counsel to prepare the necessary documents and proceedings to initiate and execute the financing plan for the project.
Second.
Thank you. We have a motion by Barry, a second by Britt. Is there any further discussion? Having none, I will now ask for a roll call vote, please.
Director Buchholz?
Yes.
Director Foss?
Yes.
Director Mansour?
Yes.
Director Maury?
Yes.
Director Thomas?
Yes.
Director Walker?
Yes.
President Lau Lancaster?
Yes. The motion carries unanimously. We now move on to item number 700 under our new business.
Nobody can leave yet, though. You have to stay. I'm just kidding.
Is there a motion for item number 701, Special Education Strategist 2, Licensure and Hiring Incentive?
Make a motion to approve the distribution of a financial incentive to aid in the hiring of strategists to special education teachers with a hiring bonus of $5,000 to be paid over 2 years, $2,500 after each completed year of employment, or the option of reimbursing completed classes required for the strategist 2 endorsement up to $10,000, $2,500 after each completed year of employment, years 1 through 4.
Second.
We have a motion by Britt, a second by Laura. Is there any discussion on this motion?
You know, the level 2s are just so important for us and for our kids. I'm glad that we're able to find a way to create some incentive to help fill this very specific need. I think I heard a statistic the other day about the total number of kids graduating of level 2 certification from the colleges, and it was, if I stand corrected, it was essentially what you could count on both hands. That's it for all the kids graduating from Iowa State, Iowa, UNI. So we are in dire need. The industry, the school industry, is in dire need of people to fill these very important positions.
Thank you for that. Anyone else? Having that our discussion has been concluded, we have a motion by Britt, a Laura by second. All those in favor, please say yes.
Yes.
Yes. All those opposed? The motion carries. Item number 702, the approval of resolution. May I have a motion, please?
Motion to approve the resolution fixing the date of sale of approximately $10 million school infrastructure sales, services, and use tax revenue bonds, Series 2025, approving electronic bidding procedures, and approving the official statement for new performance venue.
Second.
We have a motion by Melissa, a second by Mirat. And do we have any discussion? Hearing no discussion, we will go for a roll call vote, please.
Director Foss?
Yes.
Director Mansour?
Yes.
Director Maury?
Yes.
Director Thomas?
Yes.
Director Walker?
Yes.
Director Buchholz?
Yes.
President Lau Lancaster?
Yes. The motion carries unanimously. Item number 703, first reading of policy recommendations. Do I have a motion, please?
Motion to approve the first reading of the policy recommendations as presented in Exhibit 703.1.
Second.
We have a motion by Laura, a second by Melissa. Is there any discussion?
Yeah, I just have a couple questions, slight wording suggestions. For policy 102.1, when I first read it, I thought we were creating a new committee and not SIAC. So if you could move the call out from SIAC from the third paragraph to the second paragraph when we say we're establishing a committee, that just would make it clearer. Let's see. 901.8 R and E both reference the Facility Advisory Committee, and I know that Construction Committee was ISB language, but on 901.8 R, the form outlines price approval. So I would request that underneath the facility advisory sheet on that form where it says the advisory committee has met and reviewed the procedure, I would like to add the finance audit committee under that. Facilities advisory will look at the facilities needs, but then the whether it fits into the budget or not would go to finance audit. So I would request that that be added. And then 902.11, Katie did give me some background, but I still want to ask the question. So that one talks about, it crosses off district and says that the plans will be housed within each building. The last time I visited the O&M building, there's a whole room that stores all of the schematic plans and all of that stuff, the floor, all that for every building. It's in one room. Why wouldn't these plans be kept there instead of dispersed throughout the district? That's just my question.
Yeah, so they're actually in both spots, and because we were required to have the HERA management plan on site, so we have them in both spots.
Okay. So like changing the wording in the policy, even if we have them in both spots, is it necessary?
So what I'm hearing is these are recommendations. This is a first reading, and so you would like us to bring these back to the policy team and committee. That way we can spend due diligence in actually the wording and making sure that your questions are answered fully. Does that work for you?
Yeah,
Awesome.
I'm fine
Thank
with
you.
passing the first reading because this is all, it doesn't change the
Content.
substance of the policy. I just had some questions about some wording.
That's awesome. Thank you very much for your insights and your diligence. It reminds us all that actually we do a lot of homework and we actually read all these documents multiple times. And I want to thank you. When you catch even a misspelled word, it is a commitment to the work that we do. And so thank you very much, Britt, for reminding us of that. If there's no further discussion, we have a motion on the table, please. Oh, go ahead, Laura.
I just wanted to highlight the thoughtful work with the AI policies in here. In fact, was just reading an article today that was highlighting the importance of teaching, not necessarily inclusion of AI in the classroom, but teaching the skills on how to smartly use AI, and I really appreciate the transparency, which I think is a huge component of good AI use, is being transparent about its use, and just the time that staff took to look at comparable policies and be thoughtful about how we word that. We know staff and students are using it, but this is really an effort to be very mindful about that. So thank you.
I want to actually mention something about that. I didn't have any comments on that policy, but John and I sat together during the AI session. It was like a 3-hour session at ISB last fall. So the fact that I sat there and learned all of the things, and then I had no comments on our policy, I guess kudos to all of the time that was spent on that policy. It's very well done.
Thank you very much. Is there any further discussion? All right, so we have a first reading. And we have a motion by Laura, a second by Melissa. May I ask now, all those in favor say yes?
Yes.
Yes.
Any opposed? The motion carries. Item number 704, approval of open enrollment requests. Do I have a motion, please?
Motion to approve the open enrollment request as presented.
Second.
We have a motion by Madot and a second by Barry. Is there any conversation, discussion? If not, all those in favor, please say yes.
Yes.
Any opposed? The motion carries. At this time, I'm going to move on to item number 800, consent agenda. Do I have a motion for the consent agenda?
Motion to approve the consent agenda as presented.
Second.
All right, we have a motion by Laura and a second by Britt. We do want to congratulate those who are listed as retiring from our district and looking at their names and just the history that they have had throughout our district and the lives that they have touched. We are very grateful for their time and their commitment to the district. Is there any other conversation? If not, we have a motion on the table. All those in favor say yes.
Yes.
Any opposed? The motion carries. All right, we're all the way to item number 900, board calendar and communications. I'm going to highlight some of our upcoming board events, and I'm also going to request some city council people to attend city council meetings, so get your calendars out now. Are you ready? All right, April 17th is the Linn-Mar School Foundation Dine Out for Schools Day. April 18th, no school for Teacher Comp Day. April 23rd, Educational Leadership Center ribbon cutting ceremony here and an open house in this building. That will begin at 4:30. We also then, moving to May, we have a board visit to Westfield. That's always exciting. Remember, it's at 8:30 in the morning, right when we're getting the Pledge of Allegiance and their morning welcomes. We also then have on May 5th, exciting night. It's our senior recognition night. It'll be in the auditorium. It begins at 7 o'clock. On May 8th, we have the Marion City Council. May I have someone attend that, please?
I'll go.
Who said yes?
Laura.
Thank you, Laura. All right, moving to May 22nd. There's many activities in between that time, but May 22nd at 5:30, we have another city council meeting.
I can do that one.
Thank you, Britt. And it's not highlighted, but I want to make sure we all know we are excited for our, once again, our Linn-Mar graduation ceremony. It will be down at the Alliant Powerhouse. It will be at 1 o'clock, and it's an exciting time for our students, our staff, and of course their families. That's all that I have. Does anybody else have any communications for the board? If not, I would like to have a motion to adjourn, please.
So moved.
Move to adjourn at 6:11.
All right, we have a duet going on. I'm gonna, Barry, you got it, and Britt, we got the second. Is there any discussion about an adjournment? If not, all those in favor say yes?
Yes.
Yes. Any opposed? The motion carries.